It's just outrageous what he's doing.
U.S. President-elect Joe Biden facing unprecedented stonewalling from the Trump White House as he tries to prepare his team to govern, blasted the president on Thursday, calling his failure to concede and his relentless questioning of the election results, quote, irresponsible.
It sends a horrible message about who we are as a country.
As Trump's legal challenges make little headway, Reuters has learned there is a change in strategy. Sources say Trump's team is focused increasingly on persuading Republican legislators to do what voters did not and declare him the winner. 3 people familiar with the effort told Reuters that Trump's lawyers are seeking to enlist fellow Republicans who control legislatures in Michigan and Pennsylvania, battleground states that went for Biden, to intervene on his behalf with a long-shot maneuver that would see them potentially hand their state's electoral college votes to Trump. Trump faces an uphill battle. Officials have said repeatedly there is no evidence of widespread voting irregularities, and Michigan's Republican House Speaker Lee Chatfield, despite agreeing to meet with Trump at the White House on Friday, has said the state's 16 electoral votes would go to Biden, who leads Trump by more than 150,000 votes in the state. But none of that stopped the president's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, from holding a press conference full of conspiracy theories and unsubstantiated allegations as what appeared to be hair dye dripped down his face. Trump's former top election security official, Chris Krebs, who Trump fired this week after he strongly refuted the president's claims of election fraud, tweeted that Giuliani's press conference was, quote, the most dangerous 1 hour and 45 minutes of television in American history, and possibly the craziest. Legislators in Michigan and Pennsylvania have sought not to become involved with Trump's team. Several leading Republicans in Michigan privately expressed dismay to Reuters at the extent to which Trump has tried to game the election results, believing it will irreversibly tarnish the party's image in the state for years to come. As things stand, Biden has captured 306 electoral votes to Trump's 232, well ahead of the 270 needed for victory. Were the combined 36 electoral votes in Michigan and Pennsylvania to go to Trump, he would still trail by 2 electoral votes, meaning his campaign would still need to flip at least one more state to retain the White House. Asked Thursday if he was going to challenge Trump's maneuvers with lawsuits of his own, Biden said he wouldn't rule anything out, but that he was confident he would be sworn in on January 20th.
Ethiopian refugees fleeing 2 weeks of fighting say they now face dire conditions in a Sudanese camp, with food and medical equipment in short supply. They're also recounting the horror they witnessed as they fled their homes. Almas is one.
They are hitting us in Tigray. Many people are dying. There are bombs, everything. We fled, we ran away and had nothing with us. And Sudan took us in at Hamdiat. And from there they brought us here about 5 or 6 days ago.
The conflict risks spilling into a wider war. On Friday, forces from Ethiopia's rebel Tigray region fired rockets at the distant capital of the neighbouring Amhara region, according to Amhara authorities. The rockets are said to have caused no damage.
Forces are moving forward and closing in.
Ethiopia's government, meanwhile, says it is bearing down on the capital of Tigray, Mekelle, a stronghold of the Tigray People's Liberation Front. It accuses the TPLF of turning renegade and holding Tigray illegally, and of launching a surprise attack on government troops 2 weeks ago. Hundreds of people, perhaps thousands, have been killed since the fighting broke out, and about 30,000 refugees have fled to Sudan. On Thursday, the head of Ethiopia's army accused the World Health Organization chief, who is Tigrayan, of diplomatic lobbying for the rebels and trying to procure arms for them. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus denies those allegations. Ethiopia is a federation of ethnic regions, and the Tigray fighting throws into question whether Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed can hold it together. Both sides accuse the other of atrocities and blocking aid. But Reuters has been unable to verify those assertions because of a communications blackout in Tigray.
A major milestone in the fight against a deadly pandemic. Pfizer said it'll apply to U.S. health regulators on Friday to permit emergency use of its COVID-19 vaccine. It's the first such application in the U.S. The drug maker and its German partner BioNTech expect to get the blessing of the Food and Drug Administration by mid-December. They say they could immediately ship out the vaccines. Pfizer aims to have 50 million doses ready this year. That's enough for the two-dose regimen to protect 25 million people. News of the filing drove shares of Pfizer and BioNTech higher in early trading Friday. The application to the FDA comes just days after the two companies reported that their vaccine was 95% effective in preventing COVID-19 with no major safety concerns. The application includes safety data on about 100 children 12 to 15 years old. Pfizer says nearly half of its U.S. trial participants are between 56 and 85. A source tells Reuters an FDA advisory committee tentatively plans to meet December 8th through 10th to discuss the vaccine.
South Australia's recent 6-day coronavirus lockdown decision was triggered by a lie to contact tracers, authorities said on Friday. The shock announcement came just 2 days into the state government mandate for citizens to stay at home and businesses to close their doors. The region has recorded 25 cases from the latest cluster, linked to a return traveler from the UK. South Australian State Premier Stephen Marshall told press that one man at a pizza bar tied to the outbreak lied to contact tracers, saying he had only walked in to buy a pizza, when he had actually worked several shifts there alongside another worker who tested positive. Authorities assumed the strain must have been highly contagious if the man had caught the virus within such a short period of time.
His actions have affected businesses, individuals, family groups, and is completely and utterly unacceptable. But just as we have acted immediately to put restrictions in place to keep South Australians safe, we are going to act to lift them much sooner than previously advised.
Marshall announced stay-at-home orders would be lifted and businesses may open on Saturday at midnight. Although the number of new cases in the state was still expected to rise over the next few days. South Australian police said there is no penalty for lying to contact tracers for now, but that will likely be reviewed.
Results immediately and a test that you can offer to patients at home.
California-based Lucera Health has been given Emergency Food and Drug Administration approval for the first do-it-yourself COVID-19 test kit that not only lets you test at home, but also get the results in less than an hour. Dr. John Chow's team at hospital operator Sutter Health helped to clinically validate the rapid at-home test.
Our experience with it typically yielded a positive result within 15 minutes, I think as early as 11, and you can only be sure that it is not positive or that it is negative around 30 minutes. The huge advancement here isn't the speed itself, but the ability to have a test that is on par, or at least close to par, as what we consider the gold standard PCR testing, and doing it in a very rapid time.
This week's emergency use authorization for the rapid test comes at a critical time as coronavirus infections continue to see a record surge across the country and long lines at testing sites. Dr. Chow explains how the test works.
Take the batteries out of the wrapper, insert it into the device, ensuring the orientation is correct. Unwrap the nasal swab, swab each nary 5 times, and then take the swab, dip it into the vial, swirl it around 15 times, take the swab and discard it, close the cap, and then push the whole thing down, which will engage the process of testing. And that gets the test started.
An indicator light reveals the test results. Despite promising vaccine trial results released this week from Pfizer and Moderna, the distribution of a vaccine is still months away, leaving testing as a crucial tool in stopping the spread of the virus. Sutter will be one of 2 hospitals to be the first to get their hands on the kits. Sutter hopes that will be within a month or 2. but that doesn't mean the kits will be going home that quickly. The hospital operator has decided to first use the kits to help clear the testing logjam at hospitals.
Our initial use will be really for the patients who are at the most need until there's enough capacity to expand it. We will probably start using it within the point of care setting and then expand to the home use setting as we get more and more kits.
Sutter expects to make the test available for at-home use by prescription only for people over 14 years old sometime in the first quarter of next year. The test manufacturer, Lucera, is planning a national rollout by spring 2021 and says the test should cost around $50.
Standing empty and redundant, hundreds of tour buses are gathering dust at a container port in Hong Kong. They've been off the road for 10 months after authorities banned all non-resident arrivals to the city due to the global health crisis. The measure has effectively decimated Hong Kong's once booming tourism industry. It was the world's leading tourist city last year, with some 56 million visitors. The sector accounts for about 5% of Hong Kong's GDP, but numbers have been down 96 to 99% year on year every month since February. It's worrying for the some 260,000 people directly employed in the sector.
There is no hope.
Freddie Yip is one of them. He's the president of Hong Kong's Travel Agent Owners Association and says that once the government's wage subsidy ends in November, his business could collapse.
My company, like other company, of course look for the subsidy from the government. Once the government subsidy stop, we need to trim down all the expenses, keep as small as possible.
The wage subsidy program was first introduced in June and helped about 2 million employees in all types of industries. The government has ruled out extending it beyond this month, citing the high cost. One positive for the industry, though, is a travel bubble with Singapore, which is due to begin this week. It will allow a limited number of people to move between the cities without needing to quarantine once they've had a negative test. But tour guide Mimi Cheng isn't optimistic about how much it will help and says people will be put off by the cost.
I don't think the travel bubble will help boost tourism. Singapore has many regulations and rules.
In the meantime, dozens of travel agencies have told staff to take unpaid leave from December, saying they can no longer afford to pay salaries or rent.